There is one running skill that everyone from Olympian to beginner can be elite at, and it sits above all of the other skills in running: the art of pacing. It doesn't matter if you're a 2-hour or a 7-hour marathoner, or not even a marathoner at all. It's something we can all work on in the same ways, and it will have the biggest impact on your running. 4 core skills, that's all it takes. In this video, I'm going to give you 4 core skills that I see anyway, I think can really help people dial in to their ability to pace. Okay, try to look at it this way. You can have, in a marathon, thanks to the marathon gods, you can have a good race or a bad race. But with good pacing, you can absolutely skew the odds in your favour of a good race. And you know, it's not rocket surgery to be able to understand why pacing is the #1 skill in running. Let's work it backwards. In a long run, half marathon or marathon, why do we hit the wall? Because we run out of fuel. Why do we run out of fuel? Because we've got our pacing wrong. And our training up to the race dictates what our pace is. So if we nail our pace, we bring out the best versions of ourselves. Oh, and there is a point to me being on the treadmill, obviously, and that is that really, if you want to work on your pacing, it shouldn't be on here, because of course I can just dial in a particular pace and turn my brain off and go for it. I'm not having to actively think, and that's part of the key. So what are the core 4 skills that are going to bring your pacing onto the next level? This is better, isn't it? We're out on the streets doing what we do and enjoying the run, and this is how we really lock into proper pacing technique. And one thing we pride ourselves on is our ability to feel pace. Now, I appreciate this is about to go hilariously wrong, but we've set ourselves a challenge. There's a 2K loop around a lake. I'm going to tell Mary a pace to run. She's going to tell me a pace to run. And we're going to see if we can do it before we give you those 4 core skills that we've learned that we think allow us to pace it correctly, at least in a race. This might go wrong, but it's a bit of fun. Yeah, okay, so Mary's just hit 4K, so we've had to stop here because now the next 2 kilometers are going to be over there around a lake. Mary, I want you to see if you can nail 5-minute kilometers, 2 of them.
Okay. Okay.
Yes?
Yes.
What about me?
Challenge accepted. Okay, then I would like you to hit 4:35 per kilometre.
Okay, all right. 4:35 is faster than I've been running today. Thanks, Mary.
That was my Chicago goal pace.
Okay, all right, so 4:35, 2 kilometres for me, 5-minute kilometres for Mary.
Can we look at our watch when it beeps after 1K?
Yeah.
So we can look at what that first kilometre was?
Yeah. All right, you go first because I'm running faster than you anyway. Go, go, go.
Okay.
5-minute kilometres. Okay, 4:35, thanks Mary. I'm feeling is actually a little bit punchy for this morning's run, considering it's like 6 AM, but I give it my best shot.
Okay, I feel quite good about 5-minute kilometres. It's kind of my natural, normal run pace in zone 2, but I have got to navigate the traffic. So I'm just going to try and relax in and feel it. Also, I spent years at this pace trying to crack a sub 3:30 marathon, so it should feel quite natural.
The good thing for me is I hadn't quite hit 4K yet, so I get to get into my stride before. So when it beeps, I go. There. Okay, 4:35.
Here comes Ben.
This is hard.
Yeah.
I tried to dial it back because, yeah, I did feel like I was going too fast, but I am jet lagged. So I'm wondering if that has anything to do with it. My breathing rate is higher than it should be. So maybe this is like a 4:20, 4:25 so far. Just got to dial it back. I'm going to predict high 4:20s. Don't think I've quite got it dialed in here. Oh crap. 4:14. Yes, I'm great at pacing, yes.
Okay, my kilometre just clicked over 4:52. So 8 seconds out. I can see Ben just ahead, and I had a feeling I was too close to him, and I may be slightly ahead. So 8 seconds on a blind kilometre. I'll take that, but what I want to do now Now I know what that was. I want to get closer in the second kilometre.
So basically tried to dial this kilometre back, which is, yes, you can have bad kilometres like I just had. I'm not going to make excuses, but the idea being you should be able to know your body well enough to then try and dial it back and dial in. That's better. 4:28. It's not exactly the 4:35 I was looking for, but it's certainly better than 4:14.
Oh, 4:59. Yes. Yes, I'm so happy with that. 4:59, 1 second out. I can see Ben up there. I knew he'd finish further on because his GPS was a bit behind. But I was like, I think I'm a good distance back from him. Okay, I'll run up to Ben and we can compare notes, but I'm so happy with that second one. Win. 4:59.
Amazing.
So happy with that when it clicked over.
Well done.
How about you?
Yeah, too fast. 4:14 and then 4:28. So, but as I said, I'm struggling with, my heart rate is higher for the pace anyway because we've just travelled.
Yeah.
So I think that's what was skewing me, my perception of how fast I felt I was running. 4 key skills is what we're going to go into now. We need to get home, don't we? Because you've got some meetings, but there are 4 key skills that I think allow us to pace more often than not really well. And you may have noticed probably on all of our videos that we do on the channel, when we're running, when we're talking to camera, is there any headphones in Mary's ears? Is there any headphones in my ears? No, there's not. And you might just think, oh, it's because they don't like music or whatever, which is, now I say it, that's a silly thing to say, but there's a reason we don't wear headphones. See, I used to wear headphones and so did Mary, but here's the thing. When you wear headphones, or certainly for me, if I listened to music that pumped me up, audiobooks that excited me, got me really ramped up, I couldn't really control my heart rate. But actually, more importantly than that, I wasn't really focusing on what was happening in the here and now, like I wasn't in the moment. So when you force yourself into the moment at first, yes, it's scary to be in your head with your own thoughts, but once you've made your peace with that, then you start dialing in on everything that's happening to you in the run. Your heart rate, your breathing rate, the rating of perceived exertion, as in how hard you feel like you're working. And you start to link all of these things together. And by forcing yourself into the moment, instead of into your thoughts and away from the moment, like listening to a podcast, is crucial, because you know what athletes call being in the moment? They call it being in the zone. And the more readily you can access the zone, the more times you're going to have a better performance. So what I'm not saying is take out your headphones and go for every single run without your music or your books, because you might rely on them and you might have always relied on them. What I am saying is maybe 1 run in 4, take the headphones out, see how it goes, and then maybe 1 run in 3 or 2 runs in 4. You have to build it up, like almost like an interval session, not an immediate thing. But trust me, once you start to really appreciate what's going on in the body in any given situation on any run, you definitely can access the zone, that flow state, far more readily. And we're ready for breakfast.
Core skill number 2 revolves all around this, something like this. Oh, by the way, look at this. This is, I picked this up as just a demonstration tool, but it revolves around this, and the way that I've done it has evolved over the years, but let me explain. Now, first of all, I don't know if I've actually got any footage of this, but I have always journaled in some form about my runs. And when I first started running, I actually had one of those massive, you know those big flipboard charts, the white paper that's like the biggest you can get that you see in offices. I had one of those, and after every single run and bike, I would come home and I would log all the details of it, how it felt, the distance, the speed, all of those things. But I don't know if I've actually got any evidence of that now, but it was my start of journaling. And now this is important because Once you start consciously analysing each of your sessions, the how you felt, the speed you were going, what your heart rate was, you start building up like a bank of knowledge, like a portfolio. So over time, of course, that bank of knowledge, that portfolio, that library of sessions grows. And right now I'm probably showing you a lot of sessions that I've done throughout the last 8 years. But essentially what has happened is that I now have a good understanding of my body and how it responds, let's say on a sunny, hilly run in the evening, or a cold, flat run in the morning, or a run like today after I have jet lag, which I knew that my heart rate was going to be higher for the perceived effort, and I'm okay with that. And over time, that journaling has changed. I moved into a book a little bit like this, where for a long time I journaled all my runs, and then of course I just ended up, I use an app now called Connect Stats, which logs all of my runs. It doesn't log my feel or the temperature, but the good thing now is that it's so ingrained in me that it's what I do. I kind of, every time I come back from a run, I almost subconsciously log everything that happened so that I'm building up that bank. And then I know, let's think about it, if it comes to a race, what's going to happen if the temperature is this and this jet lag has happened or hasn't, or I'm tired or it's hilly. I have a good understanding of A, what's going to happen to my body, and B, what I need to then do to accomplish my goal, like to pace the race correctly. So yes, how I journal has changed so that now it's do you like my towel, by the way? So it's the only one I could find. So now it's kind of subconscious, but ultimately what I guess I'm doing is making sure that I just know what my body's going to do in any given situation, because I've done it consciously hundreds of times before. I've pretty much run in every condition that you can run in, and I know what happens. Probably the easiest way now is just doing it in a Strava write-up, really, almost like a diary, but then obviously other people can see it, but that's fine. Now, if you excuse me, I need to chill out after that run. My dad's turning up later today, so I've actually got my dad and then my mum and my stepdad coming over the next 3 weeks, which is pretty cool. So excuse me while I just chill out. Watch this swim technique. The third core skill to improve your pacing is to actually intentionally work on it in training. It seems crazy to us that we go to the gym to intentionally get stronger. We focus on sleep or stretching, etc. to intentionally recover. We might run at marathon pace in training to intentionally feel that one pace. And yet, how much do we intentionally work on our overall pacing ability? What if that pace you practiced at doesn't work out on the day? In training, we focus on 3 styles of session that we call heart, pace, and blind or feel. These are the 3 skills that when you put them together lead to a very strong pacing ability. Heart are sessions by heart rate, maybe a lactate threshold session where we're hitting a certain zone. But even on easy runs, we can have an intentional heart rate goal like high zone 2 or mid zone 2, where the priority is heart rate and we monitor what this does to our pace and our feel. Then sessions based around pace. In the second half of marathon training, we do a session at marathon pace each week, and we see again what that does to our heart rate and what it feels like. So again, we're monitoring all 3, but this time prioritizing pace. Earlier in the training, we might do sessions where we have to run a number of different paces within that one session and see what that feels like and what it does to our heart rate. And finally, blind or feel. Every now and then we like to test ourselves. We have a number of sessions focusing on covering up the watch and doing some challenges. Perhaps run 5 kilometers blind and try to get even splits across the 5, or run 20 minutes at tempo but try to feel it, not look at heart rate or pace. It's only when we get back that we then look at the data. Feel is such an important metric because it helps give meaning to the pace and the heart rate. I even did a whole half marathon where I tried to feel the pace, and believe it or not, I absolutely nailed it and crossed the finish line exactly at the pace and time I predicted. Maybe lucky, maybe because I work on this all the time. So pretty much every single session for us has a purpose, and that overall purpose is to know our body so well we can adapt as we go and pace a race correctly. It is always a learning process, but we're intentional with it. And now that I'm done, I can tell you the final core skill, and it's making a race plan. Because how are you going to bring the best out of yourself on the day in any given fitness scenario if you don't have a plan to achieve that with pacing? Long gone are the days where you can just rock up and just hope for the best, or hopefully they're long gone. Because I think, and I do this with the athletes that I coach, I do this with myself, if I go into the race having a very firm plan, not only about my pacing, but also where my heart rate can be at those given paces and what that can feel like in terms of perceived effort, then I can control the race and try being the operative word, to execute that plan. Now, there are things you can't control. The weather is one of those. Illness is another that you can't control to a certain extent. The things you can control are your fueling, are your pace plan, are your effort during the race. And that's why a good pace plan is going to be the key to bringing out the best in you. Now, how do we pace plan? It's pretty simple, really. I break down the race into 4 quarters, and I have a pace goal and a heart rate goal. And the aim of the plan is to build into the race rather than blow out of the race. And that way you're controlling as much as you can control. And I truly believe that if you go into a race without a particular pace plan that is also linked to heart rate and effort, you're definitely not going to bring out the best in yourself. You can't just wing it. And let me show you these splits from my London Marathon. Something that I will forever be proud of in terms of race execution. That's when it goes right though, okay? I know it's gone wrong for various reasons like jet lag, illness and weather. But when things have gone together for me and all of the controllables have also been controlled, I've had fantastic days of negative splits, and I'm convinced that that is the way to bring out your absolute best performance. Do us this favor, if you enjoyed the video, swap us for a subscribe, but also I'm certain you're going to enjoy this video too about how runners get their training all wrong, and I'm going to give you a clue. It's basically overcomplicating it. And here's our last video as well, which is about Cape Town Marathon being cancelled and what we did about it. Thanks for watching, see you soon.